Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to learn the very basics of the load balancers. We will see the idea behind the load balancers and we will see the various type of load balancers that are available to us. So without any further ado, let's dive into the video. So let's start the discussion with what are the load balancers and why do we need them. So suppose we have built a basic client server application and your client is connecting to the application server. Now your application has grown into popularity and a lot of clients are connecting to the server, pushing a lot of load and burning your application server. So in such scenario, we need to scale our system. So what are the ways of scaling our system? We have vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. So what is vertical scaling? Vertical scaling means that we have to increase the resources that are available to our service. It generally means buying a bigger and a costlier machine and providing extra RAM and CPU cores to our service. The other way of scaling our system is the horizontal scaling of the system, where we deploy multiple copies of our same application and distribute the load among them. So we need a load balancer to distribute the load among the services in case of horizontally scalable system. Our services must suffice two important characteristics in order to use a load balancer. That is, they must be stateless and replicated. So what does this mean? So what are the stateless services? Stateless services are the services that do not store any kind of dynamic data. So services that stores static content like HTML, CSS and JS etc. are the stateless services. And the second type of services that do not store data might be getting data from another database, or they might be getting data from another service. Now let's move to the replicated services. So replicated services means that we must be able to deploy multiple copies of our service. And we need a load balancer in order to distribute load among these services. So our services must be replicated and stateless in order to make the use of a load balancer. In order to properly use a load balancer, we must also define the readiness probe of our application. So what is readiness probe? So whenever you deploy a new machine or a new instance of your service, it takes a bit of time to be up and running. So we generally define a health check URL and the load balancer will keep on pinging on that health check URL in order to check whether the application is up and running. So when the service is up and running, it will start responding to the health check URL and the load balancer will come to know that our service is up and running and will start redirecting load to this service. Now let's move to the mechanism of distributing load among the load balancers. So one, we have a round robin distribution policy and the other is a session tracking distribution policies. In case of round robin distribution policy, we try to distribute the load among the services in a round robin fashion. That is, we distribute load to one machine, then other and the third machine, and we'll keep on doing so in a cyclic way. In this way, we assure that all the services are getting same amount of traffic. The other type of distribution policy that we can use is the session tracking. In this pattern, we try to redirect the load corresponding to a particular user to the same instance. Sometimes this is done because we store or cache data in the memory of a particular server and we want to ensure a higher cache hit ratio. So a request coming from a particular user or a particular machine will always go to one server, and the request coming from the other client will always go to another server, and so on and so forth. We also call this as a sticky load balancer, and this type of mechanism is implemented using the persistent hashing algorithm. Now let's try to conclude what are the load balancers. Load balancers are the devices that are used to distribute load or traffic in case of a replicated and distributed services. We can use different type of distribution policies in order to distribute the load. So guys, that's for the video. Please like, share and subscribe the channel if you like the content. See you guys in the next video. Till then, goodbye.